This week's primaries had some winners and it had some losers. And I think it's easy to focus on the cases in which progressive challengers came up a little bit short in places like West Virginia, where Paula Jean Swearengin cleared 30% in her primary challenge against Joe Manchin, but unfortunately was not able to seal the deal. And to see that and see a few of the victories and think, it's a bit muddled. But I do want to provide a little bit of hope for you because we've been able to track down some. In some cases, not having to do with the state legislative seats, Congress, and the Senate. On a lower level, where people generally don't focus much of their attention, there were reasons to feel a little bit positive going forward towards the November elections. And they have to do largely with attempted reforms of the criminal justice system and our attempts to get DAs, prosecutors that are a little bit more focused on producing justice rather than simply keeping their seat, raising money from the police, and things like that. So I want to focus on a couple of different cases and then provide a little bit of scary information to reinforce why it is so important that we have progress in this area and that we elect progressive DAs around the country. In Durham County, North Carolina, Satana DeBerry, a former criminal defense attorney, won her Democratic primary on a platform promising to oppose cash bail, hold police accountable, and resist the war on drugs. And the thing is, in a lot of cases with politicians, they generally don't say the right thing. But even when they do say the right thing, you always wonder, are they going to act on it? Will they have the power unilaterally to do much about it? But the thing is, with a DA, they do have that power. If a DA opposes cash bail, we already know from the example provided earlier this year in Philadelphia that they can do something about it. They can potentially end it. Holding police accountable. It's the DA that in most cases is going to be the one who makes the decision whether to pursue charges against the police in cases of police brutality and things like that. Resisting the war on drugs, well, it's all about their resources. How are they going to use their time and the time of those who work under them? It's the DA that determines that. And so assuming that Satana DeBerry keeps true to the message that she gave during the primary, I think that we're going to see a little bit of justice in that particular county. And not just there. In Pitt County, North Carolina, the victor was Ferris Dixon. Ferris Dixon supports the formation of a conviction integrity unit to review closed cases and ensure that defendants were not wrongfully convicted, expanding the use of drug courts in the region and creating more transparency out of the DA office. Especially that first part, I think that is just incredible. We know from things like the Innocence Project that a lot of people end up behind bars and some are even executed for crimes that they didn't commit. I don't understand why it's not more of a routine, ongoing thing that we look through these old cases, even at random, and ensure that justice was not warded off, was not blocked in a lot of these cases. But in any event, here we have a case where in Pitt County and in Durham County, it's likely that after November, we're going to have DAs, assuming they can win their general elections, that actually reflect the will of the people and can push our criminal justice system in the right direction. And it's extremely important that we get started because there has been increasing injustice in a number of different areas. I want to show you one interesting thing. Before we show you this chart though, I want you to know that from over the past, I believe it's something like 3 or 4 decades, violent crimes and property crimes have fallen. Arrests for almost all crimes have fallen. And yet, more and more felony cases are being filed in court and more people are being put behind bars. So why is that? Let's bring up this first chart and you're gonna see that a lot of this is up to the prosecutors. This is the percent chance that a prosecutor will press felony charges for violent property and non-marijuana drug arrests. That is trending up significantly. Since 1994, it's gone from about 37% to 55%. These are the same crimes and they're rarer, and yet they are pushing forward on these cases more often, which means more people will end up in jail. That is up to them, and that is why we need to check their power. But that is not the most amazing thing. Today's mind blow of the day is this next chart. Why do we have mass incarceration? Where is it coming from? Who is driving it? Take a look at this, and you're gonna see the different layers of our jail system. You have federal prisons, local jails, and state prisons. And look, the federal prisons have trended up. The percentage of the population that is ending up in jail in federal prisons has gone up since the 90s, but it absolutely skyrocketed during the 70s, 80s, and 90s in state prisons. Now look, we need the Department of Justice needs reform. We need an AG that actually cares about justice. We need a president that is going to make sure that we get justice at the federal level. But that chart should make clear that it's at the state level where we can do the most good. And the way that you do that is by going through and taking people out of prison that shouldn't be there for things like nonviolent drug crimes. But before they even get there, you need progressive DAs that are gonna use the resources of their office to push for actual justice and not simply to enrich private prison owners and make sure that every cell is constantly filled. That is the way that our country has been operating for multiple decades at this point. And it is long past time that we take a look at this and then we actually act on it. And the way that we do that is during elections. We push for progressive DAs, we push for them to make it through their primaries, and we support them in the general election. Get them into office, and then you will see actual reform.